Hi, and welcome to Gadget News and Review. We are home to some of the coolest gadgets, and the best consumer reviews online, buyer's guides and features. If you like our review, please subscribe for more upcoming reviews videos. The best iPhone apps review in 2019. VideoGrade. VideoGrade is a color editor for videos. Its toolset gives you something akin to the color grading effects you find in modern TV shows and movies, along with the means to repair problematic footage. Although primarily aimed at professionals, VideoGrade is easy to use, essentially selecting tools and dragging sliders. Adjustments are non-destructive, and green indicators denote tools you've already used, so you can go back and make changes. There are a couple of issues. Effects are applied to a still frame, which is awkward to change. Also, full previews require rendering. But there's an original edit split view, favorite setups can be saved, and VideoGrade's entire feature set can be accessed from within Photos. Given that this all happens on a phone, it's hugely impressive. Just go easy on the teal and orange, eh? 8mm Vintage Camera. 8mm Vintage Camera is an app dedicated to shooting authentic retro films. In other words, it transforms your otherwise pristine iPhone videos into something that could have been shot anywhere from the 1970s back to the 1920s. This is more than a basic filters app, though. When shooting live, you get to see the effect, can swap out lenses to add spotlights, color fringing and other effects, and can even add jitter to imitate frame shakes. Polishing off a superb app are features for working with existing video, which you record into 8mm, in a manner similar to Apple's clips, and stitching together multiple shots, complete with titles and music. You get a couple of themes included in the purchase price, and several more are available via IAP. Enception. Enception is a photo-video reality bender of the opinion that everything looks interesting when you start mucking about with mirrors. It provides over 20 symmetric reflection presets, some carving the screen in half, and others being a mite more complicated. You can shoot live stills or footage, and import existing content. When working with either, there are color filters to overlay, and with video, it's possible to adjust the frame rate and speed. So if you want some slow-mo, rather than just standard speed weirdness, that's just a couple of taps away. Naturally, Enception isn't the kind of filter app that you'll wheel out for every occasion, but it's great for experimenting with, and getting some weirdness into photos, especially when exploring cities and wanting to capture a unique take on local architecture. Stop Motion Studio Pro. Stop Motion Studio Pro is designed for people patient enough to craft stop-motion masterpieces. It's a friendly app, but flexible too. You can shoot an app to add new frames, add existing images from your iPhone, or import video, which is converted to a string of stills. The editor is powerful, you can copy and paste frames, a painter mode offers text, shapes and backgrounds, you can create custom titles, and it's possible to import audio. Playback of audio is intelligent, continuing until completion, rather than just the end of the frame, allowing multiple effects to be overlaid. The app overreaches with talk of rotoscoping, drawing over frames in the style of a scanner darkly, but for everything else, this is ideal fodder for taking your first steps towards becoming the next Aardman or Ray Harryhausen. Cinegraph. Cinegraph is about using existing videos, or live photos, to create images that move. Areas selected by the user animate in an endless loop while the rest of the image remains static, a beguiling effect. The selection of tools is small, but focused on the task at hand, basic adjustment options for your image, brush overlay settings for outlining the parts of your image that will move, and the means to fine-tune the video output, for example to crossfade the end of the loop. There's no automated stabilization, which is a pity, you're effectively restricted to videos or stills shot using a tripod with no wobble whatsoever. But with the right starting point, Cinegraph is capable of fashioning little slices of magic. And unlike much of the competition, there's no messing about with subscriptions or IAP for ongoing use or removing watermarks. IMG Play. A playground for GIFs, IMG Play aims to bring life to whatever you capture with your iPhone, or to fine-tune the motion within those things that already move. You start off by loading pretty much anything from your camera roll, photos, videos, burst mode images, live photos, or GIFs. With stills, you can select a number of them to stitch together, essentially making IMG Play a kind of low-end stop-motion tool. But it's with live photos and burst shots that IMG Play really becomes interesting. You can take the video or sequence of images your iPhone shoots, trim the result, including removing individual frames, add a filter and text, and then export the lot as a GIF or video. For free, the app's full-featured, but buy the small IAP and you get more filters, no ads, and no watermark on export. ImaEngine Vector. ImaEngine Vector is a camera app photo editor. Take a shot, a selfie, your lunch, or an amazing landscape, or load an image, and it's turned into a vector drawing. That in itself perhaps isn't anything special, but what else the app does very much is. First and foremost, some of the predefined filters are spectacular. Even the dullest of pics when fed through this app can end up looking like art. The settings can be tweaked too, including detail levels, colors, and line thickness. If that's not enough, tap the editor button and you end up in a full-fledged vector graphics editor. The interface is a bit messy on iPhone, and the editing section might baffle. But even for the filters, it's worth the outlay, and for illustrators happy to tweak the app's output, it's a bargain. Linea Go. Linea Go is designed to make sketching on iPhone effortless. It does this by way of a friendly, stripped-back interface, although one that doesn't lack for features. The base of your image can be a paper texture or a grid. Atop that you get 5 layers, offering great scope for complex compositions, or to isolate one component while drawing another. When sketching, there's a pencil and a few pens, a flood fill that can also be used for creating arbitrary blocked-in areas, and zip shapes. That last feature recognizes rough shapes you draw, and tidies them if you keep your finger pressed down. They can then be rotated, moved, and scaled. Although the end results look a bit digital, Linea Go is elegant and efficient, and iCloud cross-device sync makes it a smart choice for iOS-based sketching. Comic Life 3. Comic Life 3 is for creating comics from photos and other images on your iPhone. Although it works best on the bigger screen of an iPad, it's surprisingly usable on an iPhone, not least due to the sheer speed at which you can put together a great page or, if you're feeling ambitious, a full multi-page book. Much of this is down to the app's varied templates, which get you up and running in no time. You can quickly import pictures into frames, add speech bubbles and sound effects, and then export the lot to a variety of different formats. Oddly, the one thing the app does badly is comic-style filters. You're better off using Prisma for that. But for making custom comics from doodles or photos of amazing days out, Comic Life 3 can't be beaten. Procreate Pocket. Procreate Pocket is a great bet if you fancy dabbling in digital finger painting. Whether you're a novice scribbler or a jobbing artist, this app's sleek interface wants to get out of your way and let you paint. The toolbar that runs along the top of the display provides fast access to brushes. At the left of the screen are 2 sliders, for adjusting brush size and opacity. If you find them distracting, a 4-finger tap puts you in full screen mode, leaving you alone with your miniature masterpiece. It all feels fluid and sleek, but there's depth here too. A fantastic brush editor, including custom grain sources, unleashes all kinds of creativity, and the layers system provides scope for more advanced compositions. And when you get really good, you can share time-lapse recordings created automatically by Procreate Pocket, and await glory when a TV network comes calling. Graphic. On the iPad, Graphic resembles a touchscreen take on desktop vector powerhouse Adobe Illustrator. You might think you'd need to be mad to try and squeeze that into an iPhone, but Indio has succeeded in fine style. The app, equally happy in portrait and landscape, is initially set up for vector-based sketching, with you scribbling freehand lines that can subsequently be tweaked and edited. Smartly, the app always lets you know what's going on under your finger, because Graphic shows that area elsewhere on the screen while you draw. Delve deeper and you'll find a shape library, Bezier curves, a layers system and everything else you need to craft illustrations and logos on your iPhone. It can be a touch fiddly at times, but the powerful zoom and general friendliness of what's a hugely powerful mobile app help immeasurably. Pixelmator. Photoshop is so ingrained in people's minds when it comes to image editing that it's become a verb. Oddly, though, Adobe's largely abandoned high-end mobile apps, choosing instead to create simpler accessories for the iPhone and iPad, augmenting rather than aping its desktop products. Valiantly filling the void is Pixelmator, a feature-rich and truly astonishing mobile Photoshop. It's packed full of tools and adjustment options, and works well whether you're into digital painting or creating multi-layered photographic masterpieces. On iPhone, Pixelmator's naturally a bit cramped compared to using the app on iPad, but at the price it remains an insanely great bargain. Infuse Pro 6. Infuse Pro 6 is a premium video player. Rather than having you transfer files to your iPhone, although that is an option, it streams from pretty much anywhere, including local PCs, network drives and cloud storage. It can connect with Plex, too, but doesn't require a server to be running for general use. From a usability and interface standpoint, the app's a winner. Assuming your files are sensibly named, Infuse will helpfully organize them and download cover art. When watching, you can grab subtitles with a tap. Halfway through a movie after a commute? Infuse will sync progress to your Apple TV, so you can see the conclusion. This isn't a cheap app, and if your demands are simpler, perhaps start with the free version, but if you want the best video player for iPhone, Infuse Pro 6 is it. Reader 4. Reader 4 is a sleek RSS reader. Through RSS, you can subscribe to your favorite websites, safe in the knowledge you'll never miss an article. Reader then lets you browse headlines by individual feed, or a combined one that displays all articles in chronological order. When reading an article, you get plenty of options. There are light and dark modes, and you can adjust the typography and contrast, the latter being a good thing, given that the default setting isn't terribly readable. Further handy features are a button that loads entire articles for feeds that initially just supply synopses, and bionic reading. The latter aims to encourage in-depth rather than skim reading, through guiding the eyes via artificial fixation points. Surprisingly, it works. And overall, it adds to what, in its fourth incarnation, remains the best RSS reader on iPhone. David Bowie reimagines a famous touring exhibition about a music industry icon as an augmented reality experience. You work your way through Bowie's life story, exploring videos, costumes, handwritten lyrics, and other objects, which sit before you in a pseudo 3D desk-bound view. Although less directly immersive than Shepard Fairey, Damaged, it's arguably more accessible, simply due to Bowie's infusion into popular culture. And although there are limitations on the smaller screen, the slight awkwardness of a letterbox view, costumes looking a bit like video game character clothing, this is a fascinating glimpse into one of pop music's most famous and influential artists. Given the content lurking within, and its price tag being far less than a ticket to the original exhibition, it's a must-buy for fans and the merely curious alike. Bloom 10 Worlds. Bloom 10 Worlds is the follow-up to 2008's Bloom, in which you tapped the screen to play notes while dots of color emanated from your fingers like ripples in a pond. A decade later, 10 Worlds takes that app's premise and expands out what was effectively a single into a full album. You get 10 distinct playgrounds to experiment with. Their sounds are varied, as are their visual effects. Some slash lines horizontally and vertically across the screen, while others soak the canvas in watercolor curtains. Whether you want to interact or just let 10 Worlds play itself, which it starts doing when left alone for a short while, this is an enchanting ambient audio experience that breathes new life into what was already an iOS classic. Tweetbot 5. Tweetbot 5 is a premium Twitter client, and in an era when Twitter seems to be doing its level best to grind third-party clients into dust, it might seem an odd recommendation. However, hampered though it may be in some areas, Tweetbot remains highly recommended for people who want to free themselves from Twitter noise. This is especially apparent when exploring timelines. Everything's in blissful reverse chronological order, the Mentions tab isn't cluttered with like and retweet notifications, and you can swap out a toolbar tab for fast access to user-defined lists. In other words, despite not having access to all of Twitter's toys, Tweetbot continues to offer the best iPhone Twitter experience for heavy users of the service, and anyone who prefers order over chaos. Shepard Fairey Art Damaged. Shepard Fairey Art Damaged is essentially an art exhibit crammed into your iPhone, and in a rather more literal sense than you might expect. If the name Shepard Fairey doesn't ring a bell, you'll likely recognize his most famous work, the iconic Pope image of Barack Obama. In Damaged, he tackles the current political climate in a similarly arresting manner. As a viewer, the R bit of the app's name is important. This is no slideshow with written notes. Instead, the entire warehouse-sized show has been transformed into a virtual space you can explore with swipes and taps, or even by walking around yourself. All the while, you can optionally take in Fairey's narration, giving you extra context behind the work in what's easily the best virtual art exhibit on the iPhone. Pimp Your Screen. Pimp Your Screen is an app for customizing your iPhone. At its most basic, this means wallpaper. You select a category, swipe until you find something you like, tap to bring up a home screen mock-up, and save the image to Photos when you're done. However, Pimp Your Screen goes further than its contemporaries in key ways. There's a Themes section, which pairs matching lock and home screen wallpapers. There are also makers for both screen types, which enable you to combine components in a creative manner. In the lock screen maker, you can define a background and add text. Swiping the status bar or clock adds a background for that area alone. Swipe below the clock and a static calendar appears. The home screen maker adds a slew of virtual shelves and icon skins to the status bar and page backgrounds. The results can vary from beautiful to eye-punchingly taste-free. Probably best if you try to veer toward the former. COSM. COSM is designed to calm and focus your mind, through ambient audio composition, and journaling. The music bit resembles Brian Eno's Bloom app, with you tapping the screen to simultaneously play notes and have shapes appear from beneath your digits. Your taps coalesce into a semi-random repeating loop. But COSM differentiates itself from Bloom in key ways. There are multiple instruments to select, albeit from an awkward picker, and the option to define tuning. Also, there's the writing bit. This suggests you align soundscapes with how you felt when making them. But the text fields are blank, and so it's down to you to decide how to use them, while COSM gets on helping to make your mind a calmer place.